Surviving your first week in Project Zomboid can seem like a monstrous mountain to climb for new players, but with some time investment, some persistence, and most importantly, plenty of mistakes to learn from, you'll start to get the hang of things, and soon enough you'll be surviving at least a few days on the regular. So what comes next? In this series, I'll be teaching you everything you need to know about preparing for long-term survival in Build 42. And the best way to do that is not just to tell you, but to show you. I'll be jumping into a playthrough of my own that has seen just over 10 days since the game started. I'll talk through each of my priorities and decisions in real time, and by the end of it, you should be ready to make a good go of this yourself. This video will, of course, assume that you have at least a very basic understanding of how the game works and a little bit of experience. So if you're still struggling to make it past that first few days, I'd recommend taking a look at my other very similar series designed for brand new players. All that said, get those notepads ready. Let's dive in. Okay, so as you can see, we have a bit of a safe house here. I have picked a storage bin to give you a location on it. We are in West Point on the southeast side right now. Now, the focus is going to be on how we are going to go about prepping this for long-term survival. And one of the many needs that you have for long-term survival is water, hydration. Now it's raining right now, and I already have a few carpentry levels, and this is going to be the thing with your own playthroughs as well, because you've had a little bit of time to survive already. You might already have a bit of existing knowledge. Maybe your occupation helps you along with this. My occupation is carpenter, so I have some carpentry levels. If we're thinking long-term survival, carpenters are one of the best for this, because they can just build some of the stuff you'd otherwise have to spend some time learning. So what I would like to build is a rain collector. Need 4 garbage bags. We have some of those. Now, obviously, this isn't going to collect clean water. It's going to collect painted water, but that's okay. It's going to give us the water collection that we need, and then we can purify it. You also have the option of collecting water dispensers, and we'll cover that in a little bit more detail here in a moment. But first, let's get this rain collector built. You can see I need level 3 carpentry for this, which I have already. I either need 4 garbage bags or 1 tarp, whichever. Both work, and this is the second of the 2 options. The other option would be to get to level 5 and build a barrel, which will be better as higher capacity. But for now, a crate will work. Now this will fill up. You can see here I have 400 liters capacity. I will gradually fill up as it rains, and I will just gain passive water. I also has these troughs here, which you can see are filling up, but that's going to be for the use of our animals. In case you don't know how to purify water already, basically you can boil it, so cook a container of water until it becomes non-tainted. It's usually the easiest way to do that. Now, you can see here I have an empty dispenser bottle. Now, these can be collected from water dispensers. And these are great to collect while you're out and about. Again, we're talking preparing for the long term here, right? We've got a rain collector that's collecting stuff that we can purify, but we're also going to need ready drinkable water, and more importantly, somewhere to place that clean water when we've purified it. So, in this little office here, the edge of the complex, I believe there's a water dispenser. Yep. And I do need one for my base. So I'm just going to pick this up. If for any reason you can't pick these up, it's probably because you're carrying too much already and you just need to drop a little bit of weight. Easiest way to do that would be to drop my backpack, and that would usually work just fine. So I'm going to take this back to my base just so it's a bit easier to use. And you'll notice you want to keep an eye out as well while you're carrying heavier items. Not only is it damaging my health a little bit here, but I'm also gaining a bit of muscle strain. So you do just want to be careful. Just keep an eye on it. Should be fine as long as you don't do it for too long. So now we have water in my base, and while we're here, we're going to fill up my drinking bottle, but we have another empty container, so I need to go and fill this up. Now, we are 11 days into this playthrough, and to my knowledge, the water has not yet run out. But even as it has, water containers like sinks, baths, toilets, anything like that will hold some water even after the water runs out. It's like the stuff that's remaining in the pipes, right? So we're going to go and find tap. I believe there's one just next door at this little diner. We're going to fill this dispenser bottle, and then we've got one spare as well. And it's a good idea to do this before the water goes off, right? Because it's just free, clean water. We don't have to worry about purifying it. It's just saving us a bit of time. And our dispenser bottle. If you really want to help reduce the weight of something as well, like a dispenser bottle, just equip it and it will cut down the weight of the item. Especially if you equip it in like your secondary slot, I can still use a one-handed weapon in my main hand slot. Try the other door here. This one's locked. So I think we're going to have to break in. There is a chance that this will set off an alarm, which would be my luck. But it looks like we're okay on this one. Get this door open. Now, the water, like I say, I think it's still running. Yep. So it's going to fill it all the way to the top, and then we'll take this home with us. Now, while this is filling up, there's something else that we need to think about already. The water is done now. This is basically it. All you need to do is either when you're looting offices, look out for water dispensers. They'll often be in places like fire departments, police stations, office blocks, anywhere where you would think there's an office environment somewhere. There's a good chance there is a water dispenser with a bottle that you can take from it just by right-clicking it. But that's really all we need to do, is build a rain collector, collect water dispenser bottles. Your other option is if for any reason you can't build a rain collector yet, you can put large containers outside in the rain. So things like pots, cooking pots, bowls, anything like that will collect water while it rains. And that's basically it. But there's already something else that I want to consider, and that's fuel. Fuel is going to be a big one for us. It is probably one of the most important things that you need to think about, because eventually the power's going to run out. And if you haven't got a generator up and running by that time, all of your fresh food is going to rot. So we need to think about that sooner rather than later. And we have a bit of a plan as to how we're going to deal with that. Now, I've already gotten pretty lucky and I have a generator magazine, so I know how to use it. That said, the generator magazines are some of probably the rarest items in the game. They're very much sort of like you'll find people are looking for them for weeks at a time. I actually got incredibly lucky. We found one in the containers I think we were going to base in, and then I think we found 2 more in this complex, just in this complex alone. I don't know if there is something to do with this place that spawns more generator mags, but yeah, consider that a heads up. Check on the storage bins. If you didn't know already, generators, you can operate these now with either having the generator magazine, which I already have. If you don't have that or you can't find it, you can now operate generators from reaching level 3 in electrical. If you have level 3, you do not need the generator mag anymore. So the alternative is to get the skill books and then collect digital watches off of zombies like these, and you'll see just from me dismantling this electrical watch, I've got the 3 times multiplier, which is the maximum. We're going to dismantle this. We're at 13.5 XP right now. Dismantling 1 watch will get me up to 15 XP. And you can either just collect watches from dead zombies, radios, tapes, that sort of thing, and that will allow you to gradually build towards that level 3 in electrical that you need to operate a generator. Once we've done this, we need to think about 2 things. We need to think about fuel, and we need to think about securing a source of fuel after the power goes out, because one of the things that new players kind of neglect sometimes or you know don't think about is that not only is your power going to run out, but the gas station's power is going to run out, therefore you can't use the fuel pumps. Now, how can we get around this? The easy solution is just to hook up a generator at the gas station. So what we're going to do, I know somewhere in here, there it is, we have an extra generator. So we're going to grab this extra generator. And the thing is, if you find more generators around the place, like if we found one in here, I could just go to my map and we could find a little symbol like this one here and just add a little symbol here on my map and say generator, right? And then I know I can come back to this location later when it suits me to collect this generator, and just note them down as you go around, as you explore the map, and note down where you find these extra jennies, because now we're going to take this over to the gas station and hook it up. I've already got a can with a little bit of gas in it. So we're going to drive this down to the local gas station and just hook it up at the pumps. We had a bit of an incident, shall we say, with ragdoll physics on this one, where I plowed into a zombie. It got stuck on the bonnet and then went under the front wheels and completely trashed the entire front of my car. Ragdoll mechanics are just incredible. We have a little bit of gas, and a generator here. So this generator, we're going to drop this just here. We're going to connect it up. Now, you won't be able to do the connection step unless you have the generator knowledge from the magazine or from level 3 electrical. That's now connected. We're going to take this gas can and we're going to fill it up. Now, I believe the electricity is still on right now. So with that in mind, I am just going to fill up the gas can. I'm going to top this thing up entirely. So the goal here is to make sure that this generator will run for a good while. I don't need to do this, but might as well. I can just switch it on when I come by for fuel, and that will mean that you pretty much never have to worry about the condition of the generator. Now, something that's a bit more prominent in build 42 than it was in build 41 is that gas station supplies will eventually run out. In build 41, it wasn't something you really needed to worry about in any sense because there was still enough fuel that you'd have to be going for probably months to years before a gas station runs out. It's still not really something you're likely to bump into unless you survive for a very long time. But for this reason, it's a good idea to mark more than one gas station on your map and maybe hook up 2 or 3 with extra generators. Just set things up so that you're never going to come into a problem. So that's our fuel needs for the future sorted as well. The only other thing is if you need a little bit of fuel just to get you going and you can't seem to like find any, or the power's already gone off and you can't hook up generator, you can always check cars as well. So the way to do that is you need, I'll demonstrate it on my vehicle, you need your gas can and you need a hose. Now, I'm going to add the gas that we have just to demonstrate here. And then let's say I come across a vehicle. All I need to do is right click it and you'll see siphon gasoline comes up. And as long as you have a funnel and a rubber hose and a gas can, you can drain that gas and it'll at least give you enough to get going. So we've pretty much got water and gas secured for a good while. Now, if it were up to me, I would maybe say we could build like a couple of different rain collectors. Like having more than one is probably a good idea, having a couple. But we do also need to think about food as well. So, as you can see, I already have an ice freezer here. This is something that I put in my first series on surviving your first like week of Project Zomboid. You should try, where possible, to have an ice freezer. These are amazing little tools. They can be picked up. I think I want to say off the top of my head, I want to say they're 30 weight. You can often find these at gas stations. You can often find them in supermarkets. They are an incredible piece of equipment because they have 30 space in 2 slots. So you've got a grand total of 60 frozen space. It can benefit you to have a fridge as well if you have the room, and you'll probably have a fridge just anyway, wherever you pick as a base. But these freezers are going to store vast amounts of foods for a lot longer. Now, the big thing about long-term survival is taking the opportunities that present themselves to you. It's adapting to a situation. And there are a lot of different ways to tackle the food problem. I have a few options open to me. We could raid a supermarket. We could look for livestock at nearby farms. We could grow crops. We could start with the gathering skills, whatever we wanted to do. The big thing is making sure that we are prepared to seize an opportunity. Nearby, I have a Gigamart, which is just here. It is literally just up the road from me. So, with that in mind, what we can do, knowing that the power hasn't gone off yet, there's going to be a lot of frozen and refrigerated foods still at this supermarket that will be in usable condition because it hasn't had time to rot yet. 11 days is still quite a while, but I'm willing to bet that at least the frozen food is going to be in decent condition still. If you didn't know already, you can just hold down your aim key while you're in a vehicle and just kind of pan your camera around. I think this is going to be far enough for us to get in here safely. It doesn't look like there's any zombies coming in behind us. You can see here, there's a bunch of fridge freezers. You've also got your non-perishables in the shelves here as well. But I'm going to be focusing on the frozen and refrigerated stuff that's still in good condition. And the reason behind that is I know that will go off as soon as the power goes out. It's just a matter of saving what we can while we can. Calories and food has become a much bigger problem in build 42. Keeping on weight, you need to keep weights between 75 and 85 to stay in the mid-range. You go under or over that, you start to have like weight problems, which cause like reductions in stats. keeping calories on is a much larger problem than it was in build 41. So we're looking for high calorie items. Saving things like meat as well is really good because it's going to help us put on that weight. It's definitely very highly tuned right now to needing really fatty foods. I actually think there's probably something to be said that it's probably a little bit overtuned in that sense. We'll talk about livestock specifically and how we can get around those calorie problems here in maybe the next episode. But for this one, we're just trying to gather some of this food while we can. And I think it's gonna end up being tricky because we're getting a little bit tired now. But if we have to come back, that's also not a problem. We definitely need a little sit down. Our muscle strain is kicking in. Again, one thing I usually recommend as well with the muscle strain changes in build 42, it can help sometimes just to try and mix in some stomps with your attacks. Like use your, if they go down on the ground, use your stomps instead of your weapon. It's going to distribute that muscle strain to different parts of the body. But if they don't go down like that sometimes, especially when you're tired, you're going to have trouble with them hitting the deck. It's just unavoidable. It's going to happen. And it's just a matter of just not biting off more than you can chew. Take it slow. Acknowledge that, okay, good. Well, that was bound to happen to me at some point. We have a bit of a reputation for setting off alarms. And considering we're tired, we're just going to call that straight away a write-off and head back to base. It's not worth us risking that while we're sleepy. Tired as a Moodle can do some incredible damage to a character's stats. You can see all the zombies closing in on the building. But that's also not a terrible thing. So let's go ahead and mark that with a red skull, so we know there's going to be a lot of zombies there from now on. But what I will have done is drew in some zombies from the nearby area, so all of these locations now will have a bit less in the way of zombies. But unfortunately, that plan hasn't panned out for us, so we need to think about some other forms of food preparation we can do for our long-term survival. One of the best in build 41 was farming, but that's changed quite considerably in build 42 because there are now longer grow times and there are also growing seasons, which was something you didn't have to consider in build 41. To translate, crops take longer to grow and they will only grow at certain times of the year. We have here several seed packets that I've gathered already in my playthrough, and again, the matter of seizing what opportunities we have, right? So I've gotten lucky enough to find a bunch of seeds already. So I'm going to plant the ones that I think will give us food. Actionable food that we can add to meals. So we're talking things like broccoli, cauliflower, onions, potatoes, sweet potatoes. I'm going to take these things. I'm going to take this trowel. We're going to take this watering can. And we're going to go plant some crops. Because of these growing seasons that have been added and how long it takes them to grow now, with it taking more time, you can't rely on farming as a reliable source of constant food. And the other thing that you're going to need to keep in mind as well is that food isn't going to be high calorie. Veggies are not going to be high calorie foods, which means that essentially this is more of a supplementary method than something we can rely on. It's considered a bonus to our usual, right? It's going to support our food stores. It's not going to give us everything we need. But considering we're tired, this is a good thing we can do because it's in the safety of our base and it does help you prepare. And if you're wondering why I'm putting 2 spaces between these, it's because if there are 2 spaces between planted crops, any diseases will not spread across 2 tiles. If there are 2 tiles in between, they will not spread. If there are only 1 space across from each other, it can jump. Now, I will say I am not 100% certain on whether that is still the case in build 42. That was always the reason people did it in build 41, but I will say I'm not 100% on that, so that is something that you may want to fact check. Now, as for growing seasons, you'll get these seeds in packets. You will need to make sure that you have read the packet or you will not know the growing season. You can see here it says seed packet zucchini teaches zucchini growing season, right? Without that, you will not know. There are also some magazines that will teach you these in batches. We're just going to open up a bunch of these seed packets because we've already read them. You can see that by the little tick, the little green check mark next to the icons. You can see here the planting seasons for broccoli are March, April, May, June, July, and August. And the best months are April and July. but the poor month is August. So we're getting towards the end of July right now, meaning that we've got a poor month coming up. This might work, but I want to review my other options here. Cauliflower is no good. The same goes to onions. Unfortunately, the same goes to potatoes. Sweet potatoes might work. Planting season July. So out of the ones we've got, really, our only options are broccoli and sweet potato. So we're going to go ahead and plant them. Now, formerly you required several seeds per patch, but in build 42, it is now just one seed per tile. That's our crops planted. So as long as we make sure we water them, then they will survive. The other thing you can do as well is fertilize them. And fertilizers will increase the yield of your crop patches, basically. Great use for our tainted watering crops. It doesn't need to be clean, so we can take that straight from the rain collectors. And also, I believe we should be able to fill from the troughs, yeah, which have already been filling in the rain. We don't have any animals right now, so we can use this water. Now, of course, if we're talking efficiency, best time to plant crops is when it's raining. You won't need to spend this time that I am spending watering crops. So if it's possible for you, plant crops while it's raining, I would advise it. Makes things a lot easier. This means you're going to have more time to do other things. And ideally, if it were possible, it's also a good idea to plant crops in a location where zombies will not be able to access them. They can trample crops. It probably won't be a problem. We're in a quiet area anyway. You know, this area, as you can see, is all been cleared. But if a zombie did decide that it wants to come and walk over my crops, it can trample them, which basically ruins them and makes them unusable. So if your base supports you planting crops elsewhere, then it's a good option. The other thing that we could do is we could use sacks and a trowel or a shovel, and you can actually dig up dirt, put it in a sack, and then move that dirt somewhere else. So we could place it inside the fence line here. And that would allow me to plant crops inside in a protected area. But it's really not going to be, it's not really going to be too much of a problem for us. We're going to fertilize our crops and we're going to water them. And then I think that is pretty much going to be our preparation on day one. You can see how long this has taken us, and it really sort of enforces how important it is to make these long-term preparations pretty much as soon as you've survived maybe like your first few days or your first week, right? You want to be keeping an eye out for any opportunities that arise while you're looting, and start thinking towards the long term as you're playing, so that when you get to the point where we are now, where we're just over 11 days into the schedule, I've already got water solved for the next couple of weeks, if not longer. We've already got the gas station hooked up with a fuel supply, and we're already getting to the point where we've got some food. My concern from here is food, and we are going to need to get our hands on some high calorie foods, because as you can see, I am losing weight. So I think next time, that's what we will target. We will target some high calorie food opportunities. We'll talk about how you can set those up with various different skills, various different looting opportunities, what we should be looking out for, what foods are worth gathering, worth making. But for now, we know that at least we aren't going to starve, because we've got some food already, and we've already planted some fresh veggies. Something else that's always worth looking out for if you're planting crops, keep an eye out for farming magazines. Farming magazines can give you a lot of knowledge when it comes to dealing with different types of diseases that your crops may get. So you can get things like, I think it's mildew and flies, stuff like that. Knowing how to deal with those things is very important. There's a really handy little wiki page as well available that will give you all of the treatment types for those different diseases. I believe there is one disease that you can't do anything about, and the name of it eludes me right now, but there is one particular disease that your crops can get that is not curable, and it just means you have to dig up that crop before it spreads to a different one. It's devil's water fungi. So devil's water fungi, if your crops get devil's water fungi, it cannot be treated, and you essentially just need to dig it up, unlike flies and mildew, which can be treated. So that's something to keep in mind if you're planting crops. And with that comes to the end of day one. We're going to take our sleep, and in the next one, we will look at food as a primary thing. We'll look at high calorie foods. We'll look at how to supply your character with the calories they need in order to stay within that weight range that we want to keep them within. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you all in the next one.